how does one support the other?
I would tell you what I would do. I can't say this is universally correct. Let's just say, again, we'll continue this theoretical relationship, but who knows where things go in the future, Grant? Who knows?
Woo! There you go. Merriall's a great last name, just saying.
Anyway, the point being is I think this is where it's like compromise and rules do play a role. So I think this is where it comes back to, okay, where do we want to be when we're 80 or 100? How do we propose we get there? It's like, are you thinking that, hey, we're going to save and invest our way to financial freedom? Am I thinking, well, I'm just going to work forever? I'm not worried about spending because I'm working forever, like really critical on how we're funding things. I then look at it, if we're going to do this, what's the way we come together to do this? And again, in the spender and saver dynamic, I'm like, well, how much do we need to be saving for your saving goals to be met where you feel secure?
Totally.
And let's just say it's $1,000 a week. And it's like, well, how much do I need to be spending where it's like my needs of today need to be met? And I go, well, here. And it's like, can we agree on this and just make it so?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that would be okay. But it's like, if I try to imprint my values on you, so maybe I start going extreme and start buying you shit when really you would prefer that money saved or invested, or conversely, you buy more property and try and build deposits and like I get to have less lifestyle today. I think that's where the ramifications really come from in this. It's again, so can they coexist? I think they can, and there's probably some out there succeeding or well. Is it more work in doing so? Absolutely. You'd have to have a layer of management and good conversational and structure in the relationship where you can have those types of conversations.
I think it also comes down to the individual on both sides, right? Which comes back to the compromise, but also the support and judgment-free zone of having those really challenging conversations. Like no one wants to have a conversation where the answer is, if we keep going down this path, we're both going to have to work until we're 60, 65. The only thing that we're going to rely on is superannuation, which hasn't had a bad rap, hasn't had a good rap in the news recently. And it's like, well, this is where we're at. Most people will then ask the question of like, surely there's going to be some more. And that is a confronting conversation because it just suggests that what they've been doing up until that point might not be the right approach for where they want to try and get to. And so I've had some of these challenging conversations where the awareness piece of, oh, if only I did X 10 years ago, or if only I did Y or didn't do Y, it would be in a completely different spot.
Oh, have you spoken to someone in their 50s or 60s with regrets financially?
And that's the shit. And so then it's...
Shit terrifies me.
Yeah, totally. But I think like even myself, when I've done like bad investments in business or otherwise, the knee-jerk reaction is bury the head in the sand, right? Because like looking at those skeletons in the closet, it's just like, I just don't want to reopen those wounds again. But the actual value is going, well, we are where we are. How do we change it moving forwards? But that unto itself is not an easy conversation to have with someone else or yourself or a couple, right? Like, totally. Because you just don't want to have it. You want to hide that shit and just never bring it up. And that's one of the complex layers that I think people need to overcome, even if they're two savers or two spenders or a saver and a spender. Like it's just, you have to overcome that.
Can I go to another layer of this? I want to ask you a different question, right? Because I think universally it works better if there's good structure and communication in a home where you can have these types of conversations. And if you're not, maybe that's step one, is starting to have some of these deeper conversations. But I realize something we may both be taking for granted here is the idea of we've done a bit of personal development work and money psychology work. So I look at this in another context and say that both Bianca and I have done personal development programs and we have goals and a vision for our life. So if you are going to have these structured conversations, having that stuff and being clear on that makes it much easier. The other side of it is that we've both done work on our money psychology. And I look at that and go, if you were coming to the conversations with doing those things, in my mind, much better, stronger way where you can have a more impactful conversation. And an analogy I'll use here is like, let's say there's a management meeting at a company. If everyone at that company has done good management training, well, how much more productive are the conversations going to be?
Yep.
If we get a whole bunch of people that have no experience, no idea what they're doing and no idea where they're going, and we try and get them to have a management conversation, well, wouldn't expect much.
Totally.
So in the context of that, do you feel that doing some personal development work, even if you're the only one, right? Even if your partner's not going to do it, is critical for this going well.
Completely. I would suggest that knowledge is kind of key, whether it's your own personal development, I think is one layer, but then your own knowledge around the actual asset that you're going for. In this example, property investment. I think that
it's an education layer not spoken about. Like, I mean, you can get pretty good at doing a FISO or researching an area or understanding debt.
You are a developer of FISO.
Well, I've been deep in the development weeds in recent times. Yes.
Oh, geez. I'm going to put a 1.B to it. So I agree. Like, personal development is key, and the communication layer is key. I think the thing that I was alluding to before as well is I think you need to. And especially in my personal situation, man, I had some tough conversations. Like Hazel and I just wouldn't talk to each other for like an hour or two after. Like we just really needed to decompress.
It's so brutal and intense at times.
Totally, because you're challenging a way of thinking for both of you, right? And it's not right or it's not wrong. Like literally, it was just time to decompress. It's like we just can't go further on this.
One thing. Did you ever doubt yourself?
Yeah. Dude, I'm sitting there I'm telling a story to Hazel around like, hey, this is what I've learned. This is my approach and all these things. She's like, yeah, but everyone's got a personal bias because they've done the thing. So they lean towards this. Great point. So now I'm doubting like everything that I've looked at. And then I'm not trying to sell her, but I'm trying to explain like the education that I've had to see if she like bites on the idea. And then like we rub up against friction where I'm like, this is such a good idea. She's like, no. And then, and so it sometimes it explodes into like hey, like let's just put this on pause. Let's not continue it. And it's the tenacity to get through it. And for me, I just could not push through it the same day. Like we just need to be normal relationship for a bit, let it sink in, the new ideas create like what neurons that fire together, wire together, and then go back to it.
We had to ban talking about it in other environments because it would like to give you an idea. Let's just say I'll use two examples, and I'll try not to shit too much on my own relationship. My relationship's actually fantastic, Grant. I love my relationship. It's the best it's ever been, in all honesty. But I will bring up some funny stories. I remember we went on a walk, and the walk was going really well until we started talking about property again. And we had to. And then it's like basically for the last, and we're like a kilometer away from home. So then for the kilometer back to the house, silence. Just wouldn't even talk to each other.
Dude, I've had the same.
Amazing.
But I think that the layer I want to put in that is like, I just need people to understand that. Like that's normal. Like my wife is more bought in than ever on buying investment properties and investing for the future and all these things. It's just, like you're challenging personal beliefs. You're trying to grow together. Like this is not a smooth road. It's rocky as hell.
It keeps going. I'm looking at bigger things. You may have hinted from the word FISO, doing a quick FISO on the weekend. But the point being is that there's new levels of this. You might get buy-in to buy 3 safe properties that are in, very blue chip areas. But when you want to do a, massive unit block in some rural location, is like the game's changed. You may have to do this whole process again.
Totally.
But I will say one powerful tip that really made a difference in our lives is just create a safe space to have the hard conversations that's structured, that's intentful, that has meaning behind it in some of the things we've shared, but then make a rule where you won't do it spontaneously in other areas of your life without the permission or forward thought.
Totally.
Because it's easy for these friction moments to turn into a ruined dinner, a ruined weekend, a ruined walk, an argument in the car that didn't need to exist because we had not set good rules and boundaries in the relationship. And I think that is a hugely important tip I would share from other people. You can probably hear the pain in my voice from not doing it. We have it now and it's amazing, highly encouraged.
Yeah, that's the layer that I want to. Like it's like even perfect relationships, to your point, like Hayes and I are very similar. Like we still come up against it. Like it's like whether it's more debt, whether it's a change in lifestyle, like whatever it is, it's like we have these things. All right, fellow property investor, if you loved the value from this short video and wanted to know more about how you can win at property investing, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now. Alternatively, click subscribe and you'll never miss another one of these videos.